Hey guys, this is Alex from SkyRC. Alright, well, we're ready to go ahead and plug in our F-16 and go ahead and set up our control surfaces, make sure everything's moving right and all the servos are where we want them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. From the earlier video, we already know that our motor is spinning in the right direction, so we don't have to worry about that. My radio is already on, and I have it set for 0 throttle, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in now. Okay, so now we're going to concentrate and see what we need to do to our servos. Now, you can see here that servo is actually just slightly off from dead straight up and down, which is pretty good. Let's see how that actually ends up affecting the control surface. Alright. So I'm going to set this up on a table so it's a little easier to see. Alright. So we can see that the servo is just slightly off from straight up and down. Let's see how that affects our surfaces here. Looks like my aileron is slightly down and my elevator is slightly down. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to add a little bit of sub trim on my radio to see if I can fix that. Now I'm not sure which servo is aileron and which one is let's see here. Oh, it looks like I didn't quite have that zeroed out for. Now I got my aileron and elevator zeroed out, and I'm going to look at the servo one more time, and that actually looks a little better, so I didn't have it quite zeroed out. My aileron looks flat, and my elevator is up just ever so slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhook this and adjust it so that it sits level, and then I'll pick up and do the other side. Okay, so I didn't even have to mess with my servo settings, and I got the elevator all leveled out by just detaching this clevis joint and screwing it in so it was a little bit shorter, and that brought this down. So now for the other side, let's see what we have. Looks like the servo's just kicked back a little bit, and that has created a little bit of up angle on both these surfaces. So I'm going to go in there with my sub trim and try to sub trim that out a little bit. So I'm going to look at my, and I'm not sure which one's which, so I'm just going to adjust one and see what happens. And that is moving the right one. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to where I see, until I see the aileron sit level, because again the aileron is my determining factor. Let's see, and that looks pretty much level. So now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to disconnect this end and bring this elevator down. Okay, so I went in here after doing my sub trim to where I got the aileron level, because if you remember from the last video, this is my determining factor since I can't adjust the linkage for this one. And then I went in here, popped the clevis joint off, and was able to get this pretty much zeroed out. So now that I got those set up right, I can go to my radio, and then I'm going to make sure everything moves the right way. So when I pull back on the stick, everything should move up. And it looks like it does. Now I gotta do my lefts and my rights. And I actually lucked out and everything is moving the way it should be with the settings I already had on my radio. And again, I am running an Elevon mix. That's what's allowing these two controls to do both roll action and pitch action. Now I am seeing that when I pitch up, I'm getting a little bit of a difference in the deflection here. So I may need to adjust my endpoints in my radio a little bit to see if I can fix that. but it's not drastic, so I may be alright. But overall, it looks pretty good. Again, you have to do Elevon mixing for this setup that I have, but it's not hard to do, but it will vary from radio to radio, so I won't show that. The only other thing I would say you need to set up is your dual rates, which dual rates is controlled by these switches right here. This one's the aileron one, and then I have one for elevator. And what that does is it affects how much the surfaces move with the flip of the switch. So it's kind of like, you know, easy mode and hard mode as far as controlling the airplane. The more shallow the control is, the slower it's going to be to transition from one thing to another. Whereas if you have a lot of movement, a lot of throw, it's going to really whirl around in the air, and it can be more difficult to fly that way, especially at low altitudes where a mistake can be very costly. So what I normally do for park jets is I set my regular rates at 50% throw and 40% exponential, which softens up the movement in the center of the stick. And then I just adjust from there based on what I'm seeing in the maiden flight. If it's too twitchy, then I will probably leave the expo where it is and decrease the throw for that direction, whether it's elevator or aileron. If it seems too sluggish, then I'll increase the throw. And then if I feel that, you know, in the center stick I need to make adjustments, then I'll adjust the expo. But normally I just adjust the actual percentage of throw that the switch is set for. You know, that way I can fly around on my normal setting, and then if I really want to do some high speed, high tumbling acrobatics, I'll switch it to high rates, and they'll move everything more, and the plane will really throw around itself in the air pretty drastically. So, but that's what I'll use for my settings. So we'll have probably one more video where we do the actual pre-flight and maiden flight, and then that'll be the end.